Okay, we're recording right now.
Okay, we are starting formally the Today Help session for the Spark tutorial. I just want to point out how important is this even small in weight assignment, weight toward your final grade, but it's crucial you grasp everything which is in this tutorial because this is the foundation of everything related with the Spark technology to work as a machine learning engineer. So it's very important, this base, this foundation, you grasp and you understand, because sometimes the tutorial is not difficult if you click and you follow the instruction strictly, step by step, and you are going to get to the end. But if you don't understand what actually you did, it's not of much help. And secondly, these small assignments, small in weight again, but very foundational, is going to open the door for the real assignment, which is assignment number 2, which you are going to do machine learning with Spark. So in this tutorial, you will learn the foundation, how to create a Spark cluster and associate it with your project, and how you will work with the Jupyter notebook, and how you will run program with Spark. So that's are the fundamental stuff you have to learn and you understand, not blindly clicking and going to the end. So that is my suggestion, and Elena has put together very useful advice to go through this, because the purpose of this assignment is to learn the technology. So let's put it this way. With no more, I'm giving Elena the word to continue with the useful things she put together to guide you through this technology learning. Elena.
Yes, I need to unmute. All right. So it's a variety of things to talk about today. Well, there are some key reminders, including what not to do. Then some secrets on how to get your assistance faster, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Spark environment, elements of a notebook, high-level steps that you need to do to run your Python notebook for this assignment, some troubleshooting tip, and of course, I'll do my best I can to answer your questions. Okay? So now, well, this is some guidelines on how to ask for assistance effectively, because this is going to be part of your career as data analyst or data scientist, right? So what you need to do is you have to explain what are you trying to achieve, right? And how, if I'm going to reproduce the issues that I'm getting, what steps should I follow, right? Because I'll try to reproduce, right? So what's happening? What do you see instead of what you expect to see? And you want to provide the screenshots of the errors, right? So what do I need to do to get an error, and what is an error? Because if you tell me this, I cannot run this notebook, does it help me understand what the problem is? Of course not, right? I'm going to be asking you, what step are you at? Are any errors, etc., right? Now, and also it is very important. Well, a couple of you reported not getting response to your case. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. It's this. So this, you have to select, you must select the correct case type. Do not select anything at the top. You need to select the UMGC virtual lab support, right? That's the only way for me to get the case, because the system has thousands of cases per day, right? I'm not going to be taking everybody's name and searching for everybody's name, right? So you have to select the correct case. But if you made a mistake, just let the case number. Do not tell the instructors that, oh, I have not heard back from the Salesforce technicians, perhaps, right? You need to tell the case numbers, and I'm going to go and find your case, okay? So this is a correct case type. Do not select any of those, because then you're going to be waiting indefinitely, right? Because those people don't know what your homework is. Sometimes I'm lucky, sometimes they forward it to me, but sometimes I don't know, depends on who gets it. Okay, so now you might be wondering, where do I need to post the question? Which question goes for instructor individually? Which question goes in a classroom, which question is a Salesforce? Well, first of all, I need to tell you that myself, I'm familiar with the content, right? All of this reading, I've read them too, so feel free to ask, I'll answer it too, but here is a general guideline. So if you're not sure when things are due and how the work will be graded, right? So that's an instructor stuff. Non-software related questions, right? So this goes like things like syllabus question. This goes for instructors. Then there is a separate discussion topic. If you find any broken links in the course content, things happen, things move, URLs sometimes go down. So you report it there and we'll appreciate it. Salesforce stuff, like if you have an issue with runtime environment, and we'll talk about that. If you get in any code errors and any issues that involve troubleshooting, perhaps I may need to schedule a session with you, Zoom session, and I'll need to ask you to share the screen. It could be via Zoom, or it could be the it could be through another sharing application, right? Okay, most of the time I use Zoom. So here, if you have an IBM Cloud account issue, if you need help with downloading your notebook output, help is on graded exercise, yeah. Any like how to questions, how do I do this, how do I do that? Issue with capacity unit hours, we talk about too. Okay, and if you see like some differences between interface, because interface changes at all times, trust me, all right? Questions about the data, other technical issues. All right. But if you ask me, for instance, like what is RDD, I'll be able to answer it as well because, well, TA is familiar with the content also. All right. So here, this is your mailed instructor directly if you have a question about your assignment 1 grade, perhaps, right? If you have some unforeseen circumstances, something confidential like reasonable accommodations, etc., that goes to the instructor. Okay, fair enough. Now, I'm not sure how to emphasize this. I put these pictures with words. I could shout, but please, 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 do not put your credit card in an IBM Cloud account. Please don't do it. I know somebody always does it each semester, but please, 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 please. I'm not sure. I sound like a broken record, but please don't put your credit card and do not deactivate your account because this cannot be undone. You're not going to get another code, right? For another year, I think, right? So please, please, please do not do it. Remember this picture, okay? Or the one in the classroom. Now you're going to be adding the object storage as part of the project. Please do not delete it because you're going to lose a lot of stuff, okay? Now, this one, please do not open tickets with IBM. You need to submit tickets with Salesforce. Do not post the graded course in the graded course, sorry, in the discussion. The graded code. So, for example, you need to write a code for graded exercise 6, right? Do not put your answer in the discussion. Okay, everybody has to work for it. Please do not open the Spark notebook in multiple browser windows because you might end up doubling the consumption of the capacity unit hours, and I'll tell you what that is too. You need to, don't forget to stop the kernel, and I'll show you that too. All right, so you have to make sure that when you stop working, you stop the runtime environment, and I'll explain to you. I'll spell it out, the details. And please, please, please do yourself a favor. Do not share your work with current and future Data 650 students. Even if you share the work with somebody who's taking the class next semester, right? Even if they submit the same things that you did, and even if the instructor does not catch it, they may not necessarily get the same grade that you did, because the grade in part is based on in light of the current situation with technology, in light of the current readings, based on what was covered, what was not. But please don't do it because your friends can get in trouble. Do not share your work. Please, please, please. And also do not use unauthorized sites like Course Hero, because if you found the answer there, it means that instructor can find it too. So if you found it, I can find it, instructor can find it. So please do not use illegal sites for help. You need to submit the Salesforce ticket and I'll help you, okay? That's the best way. Now, I put together the vocabulary that you must know. You need to know what's IBM Cloud and Cloud Pak for Data, right? It's formerly Button Studio. So IBM Cloud has a set of services, right? So we are using the service called IBM Cloud Pak for Data platform, right, for this assignment. You need to understand what a project is, right? And what's a project assets. So project is a way to group, you put all your notebooks, all the data sets, all the model associated with specific task, right? Like now you're working on a Spark tutorial. You're gonna put your notebook, your data, right? Related to that in the same project. You have a cloud object storage. This is where the data is stored. Python notebook, like Jupyter notebooks that you're going to run. The notebooks consist of cells, and there are different cell types. We're going to look at that too, right? You have a code cell, then you have a markdown cell. We look. You need to know what runtime environment is, the credentials, Spark context, bucket name. This is a Spark session data frame. Then you have resilient distributed data set, RDD. Then you need to know the different types of commands, Spark SQL, kernel, and capacity unit hours. So this I just put together the vocabulary because when you're asking for assistance, I'll be using the vocabulary to explain things, right? So what you're gonna do is this. You're gonna log in to the integrated software platform called IBM Cloud Pak for Data. You're gonna use the same credentials that you use to access. Remember that in the first week of class, you created your IBM Cloud account, right? Uh, which has access through the end of the year, right? So what you'll do is you're gonna use that same credentials to log into Cloud Pak for Data, right? You're gonna create an empty project. You're gonna put the project as a name and description, right? So if this is your first project, you would need to create an object storage, right? If it's not your first project, object storage will be pre-populated. So what's object storage? It's an area where all your data get what? Stored, right? The data that you're gonna upload into the project, and later on when we're gonna use in another assignment DB2, right? All the data is stored where? Object storage, right? So you're gonna add the data and you're gonna add and run the notebook. Sounds simple on paper, right? So let's go ahead and start actually doing it. So what I did was I logged in to my account. So this is IBM Cloud Pak for data. Not sure why I have it open twice. Oh, this is a gallery. I'll show you that too. Okay, so well here see this, it says my name, right? Overview section lists the projects. I have a variety of projects since I've been doing it for a long time. But for you, there is more than one way to do it. You can click here, create a project. This is what I'm gonna do right now. I'm going to create a project and you want to create an empty project, not from the sample file, but you're gonna create an empty project, okay? Now we're gonna give it the name. I'm gonna name it as Spark walkthrough, walkthrough, okay? And I'm gonna put, oh, see this? The good thing is that you have the spelling thing, Spark walkthrough, and I'm gonna put the spring 2022. Description is optional. This one, don't worry about this, right? Well, take a look at this. I have cloud object storage pre-populated. When you do this assignment, you're not gonna see this. Okay, very important. You're not gonna see this. You will have to create it, and the instructions are in the assignment instruction. So last semester, I had a lot of questions. Why you don't see that? Because for me, this is not my first project, right? For you, it's gonna be your first project. So I'm gonna go ahead and click create. So what's a project? You may think about it as a container, if you will, right? And so let me see. Oh, it was pre-filled for you? Oh, okay, okay. It was pre-filled. Thank you for letting me know, Jeff. So then, well, That's good. If it was pre-filled, then it's good. Okay, now, but there is a possibility that it won't be. Let's say it this way, okay? Well, what is this here? Now it says that I'm not using any storage for some reason. So collaborators, in this case, I'm the only one who have access to this, who has access, but in theory, several people may collaborate on the same project. Yes, you may grant access here. Several people could collaborate if you want. Assets, I don't have anything right now, but I'm going to add now. What I'll do here, see this, it says assets, and I'm going to start adding the data. Yep, so, oh, it was pre-filled to you as well, Denise, excellent. Thank you for letting me know. So this is an icing on the cake, right? It means, well, you have less to worry about. If it was pre-filled, then it was pre-filled. Okay, then you just skip that part of instructions, which it's just good, right? Well, so here to load the data, I click here, and it opens up the slide out panel. I'm gonna click here. Well, there are no files, right? So I need to load this. I'm gonna hit on browse, and right before this session, I saved intentionally file on the desktop. So it's employee attrition. When you download the file from the classroom, do yourself a favor, do not open the file, okay? Just right click on the link to the file and save it. Okay, I'm gonna click on open. The data in the file is stored in the CSV format. Well, see it here right now. I have assets and it says this, the file. I don't have anything else right now, but we're gonna do that. But take a look, if you go back to the overview page, it says that now I have this asset, and this is probably the size of my files that I just imported. Okay, now what we'll do right now is I'll go back to assets, and I'm gonna do add to project. What am I going to add? Remember, I'm going to add a notebook, right? Notebook. Now, remember this. There are multiple ways to add a notebook. You can do a blank notebook and then write everything from scratch. You can do from file, which is what we're going to do, or you can do from the URL, if you know the URL of the notebook. Or another option is you can add a notebook from the gallery. There is a set of sample notebooks, and if you wanted to, you could add it to a project if you wanted to, right? Okay, so now you know that part. Now, what I'm gonna do in my case, I want to edit from file. So I have to go in here. I can click on this link and I can select the notebook that I want to upload. This one, I saved it on my desktop right before I did this. I'm going to open here. Very important, am I done? Well, I'm not done. Do you know why? Because I have to select the environment that I'm using. That's called the runtime. Runtime in the environment that I'm going to use. So for this course right now, well, we selected the latest one because they often do updates, and we want to make sure that the environment is not deprecated while you're in the middle of assignment. So what you have to do is select the Spark 3.0 and Python 3.8. Let me select this. Very important. There is something called as capacity units per hour. You have 50 capacity units per hour per month, and the month just started, right? So let's say each hour, this runs, each hour you're using the notebook, each hour you're running it, or each hour you have it open, the notebook open, it's going to consume the capacity because it takes the it takes capacity, right, to execute the notebook. So, well, if you click learn more, it's going to tell you more details. Each environment consumes different capacity. So you would have to keep an eye on this. Whenever you're not running the notebook, you're going to stop the kernel to make sure that it's not consuming the capacity per hour, right? Well, but please do not see it as a limitation. It's a privilege. You get capacity unit per hour. You get 50 per month, okay? 50. If you know how to use it right, you're not going to run out. okay, if you know how to do it right. And to do it right, if you're not running the notebook, you're gonna have to stop the environment, okay? Now we are ready to create the notebook. Look at this, name is pre-populated, right? It's the name of the file. You can rename it, but it just inherits. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna click on create. Well, let's see what it's gonna do. Immediately, it's gonna attempt to start the runtime environment. Okay, well, it's opening the notebook, and this is a path. See this? It's a project name, and this is a notebook name. Now it's gonna start the runtime, right? So you see this little progress. Uh, see this? It's kind of like an explanation. The capacity unit per hour depends on number of executors and the number and the RAM that it's using to run this. Okay, so now I'm opened up. This is a notebook, right? And the slide wise, if you go to slides, I showed you this. I showed you how to add data, right? Then I showed you now we are working on adding the notebook. And over here, this is a screenshot of what you need to select. Do not select other choices, all right? But if you do, I will show you how to fix. Remind me, if I forget, remind me to show you how to fix. So now, everything in the notebook is broken down into cells. There are several types of cells. What is a markdown cell? Markdown cell is basically, it has the notebook headings, right? The table of contents, and it has this little description, right? In here, I'm describing what we're doing. This is a heading, but if you click on this here, no, if you click here rather, this will show you the code that was used to generate this cell. See this little hash mark? It means that it's a heading, right? First level heading. Learn the basics about the notebooks, right? So this is just the text, and this is a table of content, how it's done. So somewhere in the notebook, there is this thing here called Apache Spark, right? It's in here. So that's an anchor. See this Apache Spark. And this link here is going to take to the section in the notebook where Apache Spark is. This here, it means that it's a bullet, right? A bullet type. Well, and this is a link, and this is where a link takes, right? The menu is a set of links, right? So now, if after I type this, I would need to run this, right? So this is how you would deal with this. Okay, so this is a markdown cell. It's not executable, right? It's not a code cell. Okay, just know that. Well, here is just basically the description. This one here, this code is going to return the version of the Spark that I'm using. Well, Yelena said that we're going to use version 3, but what is it, 3.03? Well, this is a patch number. So this is a minor. It's a patch number, so that's why I just say version 3. This is going to show what current date and time, right? This is to catch the cheaters. If you're submitting somebody's work from last semester, it is going to catch you. No, I'm joking, guys. I like to joke sometimes. You're going to submit your own work, okay? Now, what you need to do is when you run your notebook, you're not going to go scroll down all the way here, like all the way through the middle and randomly run this cell. Okay, this is what else not to do. You're not going to do that. What you will do is you're going to run everything starting from the top, right? You're not running the notebook in random order. You're going to start from the top, right? So I did this, etc., right? But before you run any code, this is what you need to do. You place a cursor here. You're going to click here. Now, well, okay, see this? Here, this is a data set that you loaded. If you don't see this, it means that you forgot to load the data. You need to go back to the project and load the data. If you see it, right, look at this, insert. Here, insert the code. Now, people, if you don't see this Spark session data frame, if you don't see this, it means you selected the wrong environment. You did not select the environment with the Spark, and I'll show you what to do if you selected the wrong environment. but you have to select this Spark session data frame, okay? This will insert the generated code. Well, here there are a few more things that you need to do. You need to change it to 1 because everywhere in the code that follows, here it's using the 1, right? The variable name is 1. Well, your choice. Either you change it to 1 here, or you have to change to 2 everywhere else in the code. I think it's easier to change it once, right? Well, then there is another piece that you need to do, and I'll show you. It's in the slide, so I usually do a little bit of the copy and paste. Well, it's spelled out here. You need to add this infer schema. Okay, so one way to do it is this. I'm gonna go over here. I'll just copy this line here. I'm gonna copy this line, right? And remember, it has to be the same indentation here. Now I'm going to copy this option infer schema, right? And I'll show you why you need this. Okay, I'm gonna do infer schema and I'm gonna set this to true. Well, because my data has some of the numeric columns, like age, right? If I don't do this option, it's going to read my age as a character. The problem is when I try to look at the average age, or when I try to look at the maximum age, it's not gonna calculate the average or maximum age. It's gonna calculate the maximum ASCII value of an age, right? So if you're looking at the statistics for an age, and if you see that your minimum is higher than the maximum, it means that you did not follow the instructions to add this, okay? So if you see something odd, right, you're looking at the statistics and you see the minimum higher than the maximum, it means that you probably did not put this option in for a schema. It will attempt, when the data is loaded, it will attempt to read the data types, correct data types, okay? Now, well, I ran the cells above, so I can run this, right? I'll need to do something else in here. Before I started that notebook, I should have went and checked my runtime, right? I should have done that, but I did not. Okay, so this is another IBM Cloud Pack for data. This is a menu. I should have done this. I should have went to the, they always change the location of it. As it's under the administration, then there should be something like environmental runtimes, and this will show me anything that I have running right now. Okay, so it's in well, here, this is the total capacity unit hours used, and this is the remaining, right? I have this, it shows this right now because I have not done anything. Now I'm gonna be working with a notebook and I expect this to go down, right? And this is the active environment that I have running right now. This is a notebook, this is a project where I have something running, right? And this is the environment that I'm using. Okay, now I did this. This basically what I did was I just loaded the data, right? If you see an error message here, you need to check to make sure you did everything correctly. Like for example, if you in first schema, if you misspell this, if you put E instead of A, it's gonna give you an error, okay? So if you see an error, it means that instructions somewhere not followed. You want to delete everything from this cell and try again. Now, if you go down over here, you have to put the bucket number. You're not going to PowerPoint slides and copy my bucket number. You're not going to assignment instructions and copy bucket number from assignment instructions. But what you're gonna do is this. This is a bucket number for you. This would be your bucket number, right, in your code. What you'll do is you go Control C, right, or whatever you do to copy paste, and you're gonna just paste it. This is a bucket name, all right? Well, if this line is not working, if this line returns an error, then you either did not run the cells above this line, or you probably did not put the correct bucket name, okay? Or you probably renamed the file. You should not be, because it assumes that this is a file name and it's case sensitive, right? Or maybe if you put the wrong, or you misspelled something and etc. Okay, now let's do this. Let's run. I'm not going to run the whole notebook because what's going to happen is this. If I do the work for you, then both instructors will have to add me to their grade book and give me the grade, right? I don't want to get your credit. So I just showed you, and you know that this piece works. What you have to do is you need to run all notebook, but in here you've got graded and ungraded exercises. And the reason is so that you don't run the notebook without thinking, right? You need to understand what this does. And what you submit, right? You need to run everything. It should show that you ran everything, okay? So now here, those are the examples. Okay, for example, in this exercise, in this example, it's going to show you the statistics for the satisfaction level, right? Satisfaction level is one of the columns in the data. Your task is to show summary statistics for average monthly hours. So you have to, if you're not sure what is this exercise is asking you to do, then you probably need to go back and make sure that you understand what this is, okay? Because this is an example for satisfaction level. You're asked to do the same exercise for the average monthly hours, right? Column. Well, now another thing is that if you look at the average monthly hours, right, and if you see that the minimum is above the maximum or the average is above the minimum, that probably you need to go back. You probably may have forgotten to add very important line here in for schema, okay? So this is something to keep an eye on. More likely you missed that. But no problem. What you'll need to do, well, suppose that you missed something, right? You're going to edit the code. You have to start all over. So what you'll do is you do this kernel. You're going to do restart and clear output. Restart the kernel, and you want to clear all output. Yes. Restart and clear. That will clear the output that you did, right? And you will be able to run everything fresh. Well, when it's done, it's supposed to clear this, right? It might be taking a little bit of time to do it, but you need to wait for it to clear. See this? It's still working on it. It's still working on it. But it's supposed to clear all the output, right? And restart. Okay, there we go. It's done now. Well, you should see this empty brackets. If you don't see this empty brackets, it means that you still have to wait, okay? And what this is the image. There is a link, right? It specifies a link to external image in that cell. Okay, now what else you have in here is, well, you've got ungraded exercises. You have graded and ungraded. Ungraded exercise does not mean that you don't need to do it. You have to do it. But what that means is that if you did it, you tried it, and your answer is incorrect, it's okay. It's not going to have an impact on your grade. But what will have an impact on the grade is that if you don't attempt it. The goal is this. Ungraded exercises are harder. Yes, we know that. But the purpose is for you to try. And later the answers will be provided, okay? But it's for you to attempt it because later on in another assignment, we're going to do SQL and you're going to see something similar graded, right? So be aware of this. See this, like you have basically see this graded exercise 6. Well, you have to use the SQL and you will show the salary level. In that case, salary is a categorical. It's a low, medium, high, and the number of employees with that salary level, right? So you're going to see something like a low salary and how many people had it. Something similar to what you got. There is another query. That is done as an example. Well, here it's showing you the department and number of people in each department, right? Well, in this case, in this specific example, it's only looking at the people who stayed, right? But in your query, it does not say to keep only people who stayed, right? So you're not going to be adding this because it does not say. You want to count all people, right? You don't want to count people who stay or people who left, right? So whatever is in this code, it does not apply to your query, right? So don't put it in your query if it does not say to limit the results for people who stayed, right? So we're gonna write this, but then when you go to the ungraded exercise, it just adds one difficulty level. You're gonna show the department name in addition to salary level, right? Well, remember that you have a grouping query. Like in here, in this example, you're grouping by department, right? You're doing the counts by department. Upper, you put this in uppercase because the sorting is case sensitive. So you want to sort of like not get rid, but you want to sort the data regardless of the case, right? Because, well, HP department in the uppercase is different from lowercase, right? Okay, well, in theory, I should have converted this to uppercase because you may have the same department with different capitalization in the data. What I did here, it's a bad idea to assume that department is going to have the same capitalization in all data. Okay, but just keep that in mind. That here I should have looked at it in the uppercase too. But anyway, so this will list the department name and accounts in a department name. You have a similar exercise but different columns. And then here it just showing you to, it's asking you to group by two columns, right? Here you have department names, those are the non-aggregate column. And this is the column 3 is the aggregate column because it shows the number of people, right, who works in this department at this salary level. So remember this, any non-aggregate column in a select clause must go to the group by clause, right? And then the second exercise is given even more, right? It's even more and it gets third grouping columns. And here, well, basically what it's asking you to do is that it's asking you to produce one row per department. And in that row, you want to list the department name, number of retained employees, number of employees who left, and total number of employees. Don't panic. This is a little bit outside the box thinking process. You might be asking, how do I figure out how many people stayed, how many people left? Well, if you don't remember this, you need to go back to the data set description here. And data set description has a column called attrition, right? And attrition tracks if the person is stayed or if the person left, right? So how do we count how many people left? In other words, you want to find out the number of rows where this column is equal 1, right? Well, in theory, if you take the sum of this column, it's going to give you the number of people who left, okay? I hope that hint helps you, right? I hope this hint helps you. And I'm going to tell you another hint. There are no missing values in this data. Why it's important is because when you do count star, right? Count star, usually it's gonna count the missing values, right? So, but don't worry about missing values in here, okay? You don't need to worry about missing values. So the way it's doing the count in here, if you look at this example, it's doing the count star, right? In here, right? It's doing count star. It's sometimes it's not the best way to do it, but it's okay in this example because there are no missing values, okay? In this specific example, there are no missing values. But later in this course, we're gonna look at the example with missing values, okay? So now, so just think about it. If you don't get it, you don't get it, but the answer will be given. But you want to try this, okay? You have the information that you need. You don't need to do joins. You don't need to do subqueries for this, okay? Now, I promised you that I'll show you what to do when you're done, right? You're working on this assignment and suddenly it's lunchtime, you need to step away, but you don't want to consume the hours. Well, this is what you do. You need to stop the kernel and you do the shutdown, okay? because you don't want to use up your hours. So now if I'm going back here, I have to refresh this page. Refresh. See this? This shows me what I've used so far, and this is the remaining, right? Well, I spent a lot of time talking, right? All right, so while you're writing the exercise code, you may want to stop the kernel. You only start the kernel when you're running. But like, please, I did some calculations for you. And where is that slide? In one of the slides, I did the calculation for you. Well, look, you have 50 capacity unit hours per month. So that means it goes down to the 33 clock hours. Trust me, you're not going to be running your code for this assignment and for assignment 2 for 33 hours. Unless you did something wrong, unless you forgot us to stop the environment, right? You should not be running out of hours. Well, I'll tell you why I did it. Because in the past, people just kept on running notebook. They were consuming too much resources. Well, think about it this way. Now it's winter time, right? People go put thermostat at the 90 degrees and have all the windows open. I met some people who do that. I'm like, what are you doing it? Why don't you put the setting that is comfortable for you and close the windows, right? I mean, this is right? So that's the reason is if people get the free electricity, right, or free gas, they're gonna do it. They're just gonna put all the way up and have windows open. That's it. I mean, there are people who are going to do it. IBM picked it up and they said, okay, if you need to put this limit of fuel, 50 capacity unit, well, it's not a limit, it's a privilege, right? And whenever your 50 capacity unit hours is up, you won't be able to open your notebook, you won't be able to use the environment. Now, if you're smart, if you did not put the credit card number, as I said, you're not going to be charged and you won't be able to do the work. But please, 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 at this point, still do not put the credit card number. You need to submit the Salesforce case. You're not going to get more hours, but we'll talk to you. And what I tell you to do depends on how far along you are in assignment. If you're done with most of the assignment, but what you have left maybe will cost you a couple points, something like that, I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell you, hey, you're pretty much done, but probably more likely, if this is missing, the instructor, you might not get like a full credit or something. Well, sometimes it's better to accept few points less than having to redo all of this work, right? So it depends. The next action will depend on how far along you're in assignment. All right. So another thing that you need to do, you must do this. Well, you need to save the output. You need to save the output of this to the HTML. Well, let's go back to the notebook. I'm here. This is my notebook. I'm done. What you have to do is this. You need to do this file, download this. Look, this is important. All the time somebody does not know how to do it. Okay, download this HTML. This is what you're gonna do. Where it saves depends on your browser setting, right? So what you could do is this. Show in folder, it's gonna open the folder where it's saved. And this is employee attrition. So see this, I'm gonna go and open it. I'm opening it in my browser. Oops. I think it's going to open it in the default browser, whatever default browser you have set. Then what you could do is you could save it as PDF and then turn it as PDF. It's much better actually. So you're going to have all your output, right? To save it as PDF, you can do the print, right? I can do print and then print save to PDF and then select location where I want to save it, right? And put the file name. That's it, that's it. Okay, well, you just save it and then that's a file that you submit. You have to submit this file, okay? Now, how many people cannot count until 2? Well, I know I sound silly, but I'm asking this because you need to submit 2 files for this assignment. File 1 is this output that you save in the PDF. File 2 is a quiz. Okay, there is a quiz. The reason this quiz cannot be set up as auto-graded because some questions are not multiple choice. So for the quiz to be set up as auto-graded, as what you took last week, the questions can be only multi-select and multiple choice and true and false, etc. But if the questions have something like a short answer, then it cannot be set up as auto-graded, okay? It has to be graded by teacher manually. Well, what I do recommend is that the quiz has some questions on the output. So when you work on this quiz, you want to have the output in front of you. So you're gonna download your output as HTML or as PDF. You want to have that file in front of you as you're working on the quiz questions, okay? Because there are some questions on this, okay? Now, another thing here, you may need to know how to count until 3. Well, because if the question requires selecting 2 answers, the instructions explicitly say, select 2 answers, select 3 answers. If it does not say to select 2 answers, right? If it does not say to select 3 answers, right? Then there is only one answer to select, right? So if there is only one answer and you select 2, it's wrong, right? You're trying to guess. No credit. See, so you read this, and the idea was borrowed from SAP because on their certification exam, if the question requires selecting 3 answers, it's going to say, and senior level engineers fail tests, not because they don't know the concept, the materials, they know it, but they fail the test because they don't follow instructions. If it says to select 3 answers, you need to select 3, okay? Just giving you heads up. For the quiz, since you're gonna submit some questions, you need to select 2 answers, some questions you need to select 3, okay? Let's go back to a few things, and we talked about this. We talked about this. Well, okay, if you made a mistake, and I'm gonna make a mistake intentionally now, I'm gonna make a mistake intentionally and show you what to do to fix. So here I showed you how to check your hours, and I'm gonna make a mistake right now. Well, let's go back here. This is my project. I'm going back, and notice that now in the asset, you're gonna have this section called notebook. Okay, this is a notebook. Well, it shows you when I modified it last. This is environment. Now I'm gonna be a bad student. I'm not gonna follow instructions now. What I'll do is this. I'm gonna do add to project, and I'm gonna do notebook, right? Look, this is what I'll do now. And I'm gonna do from file, but I'm not gonna follow the instructions. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna select my file, and let me see. I'm gonna just say this. Okay, I just saved this. Okay, I did not read the instructions. I did not change my environment. And I say create. Let's see what's gonna happen now. The end of the world, right? This is the end of the world. I'm gonna fail data 650 course because I selected the wrong environment. Well, okay. What you can do is this. I'll show you in a second. Let it load. And I'll show you how to see that you did the wrong selection, right? Okay, so this is loading. Okay, it's finished loading now. Let's look at the indicators here. I selected just the Python. I did not select the Spark. Do you see this? It says kernel not found. See this? So I can say continue without kernel. Well, this is the first indicator. There is no kernel, so there is no Spark, right? Then when I go here, when I try to insert the data to my code, like this here, look this. Do I see the options that we talked about? Where is that Spark session data frame? It's gone. The end of the world. I'm gonna fail the course. Not necessarily. Take a look. Take a look. If you go here, click on this I. This is a notebook information. You click on the environment in here, and you can change your environment. So you can do this Spark Python 3.8. You're going to change this. And here you're going to say change. Oh, yeah, I went it too quickly. The pop-up that I just showed you, it had a checkbox. And the checkbox asked if you want to stop. Make sure that the checkbox is checked, okay? The pop-up asks if you wanted to stop. You want to stop the old environment, right? And then when I go here, I want to make sure that nothing was running, right? I stopped the old runtime. You want to stop the old environment. Oh, but it's not showing me things correctly because, oh, here it is, I updated it. And this is what is running now. I'm running correct environment, right? You want to make sure that you're running correct environment. Well, let's see what's gonna happen when I start running this notebook, okay? Oh, fail to start the kernel. I'm just gonna click OK, and it will start the kernel now. When I run this, it should do it, okay? It should do it. Nope. See this? So sometimes it won't fix it. Sometimes you have to delete the notebook. But let's see. Fail to start the kernel. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm gonna exit this and say leave. Right. So this is my notebook. Okay. And what you have to do is, I'm not sure if that checkbox was checked, but let's go back here and let's stop this environment. And I'm gonna go delete. I want to stop that environment, right? That was running before. Now let's go back to my notebook again and click. Okay, so now it should work. I need to go in the edit mode, right? I'm going to the edit mode and it should work right now, okay? Because I should have stopped the environment. But anyway, what I showed you is that if you chose the wrong environment, you can change it. You can change the environment. You can click on this eye here, right? You go to environment and you change it here. Sometimes the kernel might not start. Then you have to exit and return. Okay, but this is not the end of the world. You might not necessarily fail for that reason. See that it works again. So that works. Okay, so if you made a mistake, you're not gonna fail the class just because for making that mistake. You can fix it right here. But please, please, please make the correct selection right away because you might see. I thought that I stopped the wrong environment, but I didn't. I should have stopped it first. See, I should have stopped it. Okay, but it's possible this mistake can be undone. This takes a little bit of time to run, but it should work. Okay, so just telling you. Now let's go back to the slides. I believe we covered most of the, and this is the Watson gallery. Those are some sample notebooks that you can look at. Just some samples. Maybe not at the moment, but especially, well, when the class is over, you probably want to learn more on your own. So you can look, there are some samples. And you don't even need to run this. If you just open an example without running, you're not consuming the hours. And those guys, they have output saved in it. Okay. So yeah, well, I'll have to look into it, what it's doing. Anyways, so I changed the environment and it should work. Okay, it should work. Not sure what's going on. So if this happens, right, if this happens like this, then you're just gonna do this. Look, you're gonna just do stop the kernel, right? You just stop the kernel and you're gonna do shutdown. Then you're gonna run it again. It should work. Or if it still does not work, you need to log out and log back in. Okay, log out and log back in. Okay, so it says no kernel. So you want to do this. See, this is the right one, right? This is the right one. Okay, so I can go back and I can see what's going on in. So here, this will show all active environments for all projects that I might have, right? And right now, I don't have anything running. I don't have anything right now. And also, I have another property here. This is environment within this project. This is how many hours I use within this project. But don't get fooled. You might be thinking, wait a minute. I can just go and create another project and my hours will be reset to 50. No, it's not gonna happen, okay? Your hours are not gonna be reset to 50, okay? Don't count on it. No, it's 50 hours total for all projects, okay? Oh, I just did something. Okay, here is a list of projects that I already have created. I have too many of them, so I just sort by date created and go in, okay? And another thing that I wanted to mention, in the settings, there should be the bucket name also, right? There should be bucket name also. Oh, see this? When I click on this I, see this in the project setting, this is also where the bucket name is. See the settings, object storage, and this is a bucket name. Now, why do you think it says managed by IBM Cloud? Because, well, this falls back to the difference between the IBM Cloud and Cloud Pak, right? So when I'm on Cloud Pak, I cannot manage my service, right? I have to go to IBM Cloud if I want to manage the object storage, right? So if I click on this, this will take me where? IBM Cloud, right? And I would have to log in. Okay, this will take me to IBM Cloud. I cannot manage any of the services from Cloud Pak platform, right? I have to go back to the IBM Cloud environment for that. Okay, so let me know if everything makes sense or any questions you may have. Okay, so go ahead and please ask. I would like to hear the questions. And if anything not working, we would rather see the ticket now because we don't want you to report the problem after the fact. Okay?
Hey, Elena, I just had a
Yeah.
quick question.
Sure.
Was there a benefit to downloading the notebook as an HTML and then exporting it as a PDF, or is it fine to download as a PDF from the notebook?
Is it possible to download it as PDF? That would be good. That would be another bonus. Let's check. Well, if it's possible to do it, then go ahead. Let me see if it's possible. If it's not possible, then that's what you need to do. First of all, to download, you need to be in edit mode, right? Let's check. Well, because the thing is, when you submit it as PDF, the images, right, the visualizations will stay. But if you submit it as HTML, sometimes the visualizations are lost. So I think in the future we should change it to export to PDF. Let's see. See this downloaders? I don't see the PDF. See this? I don't see the PDF option. Unfortunately, we have to download it as HTML and then save HTML as PDF. Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Yeah. I like questions actually. Go ahead and ask. Oh, and every time if you have a session, if something happens like you're not like you're unable to attend and you have questions, feel free to send the questions in advance and we'll make sure it get answered. Okay. Yeah, so please go ahead, ask questions. I would like to see your questions. Questions are good. Anyone? So you want to try, well, first of all, if you already started working on the assignment, it's excellent because the hours that you did not use in January, they cannot be carried over to February, right? So in the beginning of the month, the hours are reset to 50. If you did not use them in January, you cannot transfer those hours to February, so use or lose. It's good for people who started in January, that's good, because you took advantage of your January hours, right? But if you spend 30 hours actually running the code, I'm gonna give you a chocolate medal, gold medal made up from chocolate. No, seriously, nobody is gonna run this code for 30 hours. So you need to, well, like now I'm not running anything. I'm just gonna stop the kernel, right? I'm gonna just do shutdown. That's it. When I'm ready to run it, I'm gonna start it. I can do restart, right? Or something like that, or reconnect, okay? Does it make sense? And also see this kernel, change kernel. See this, I should have done this before. Okay, so does it make sense? And you know how to submit the Salesforce case by now, right? Any questions? Huh? Any questions? And Professor Azan, do you have anything to add to what was said today? Professor Azan or Professor Gorachova? Feel free to add anything. If you have any guidance, anything I may have missed, anything that you may think it's important? No? Let's see if it is still here. Professor Azan, feel free to add anything. Okay. All right. So questions, please, people. Going once. Let me see the chat. No questions in the chat. Oh, okay. Okay. No questions in the chat? Oh, I see something in the chat now. Oh, most welcome, most welcome. So we're gonna have another session in 2 weeks. Okay? So I want to thank everybody for attending this session. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing and stop the recording. And okay, the recording will be available for everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and stop recording. Okay.